Welcome to our solution talk, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Gen AI has changed how we interact with information, but Agentic AI is changing how we actually get work done. So in this session, we are going to move past the hype and show you exactly what Agentic AI looks like in action across financial services and insurance. Let's dive in. I am Michael Young, Industry Solutions Lead from the Delta.
And I am Abhilash Thuma, Enterprise Architect from Google Cloud Consulting, also part of Delta.
Amazing. Here is our roadmap for today. We will start with the challenge, why so many FSI organizations are building amazing agents but struggling to get them out of the sandbox. Next, we will introduce the framework, showing you the exact methodology to bridge the gap from prototype to production. Then we will pivot to the use cases, highlighting exactly where the immediate, measurable P&L impact lies across banking, capital market, and insurance. Finally, we will step out of the slides and bring it all to life with a live demo. Let's dive right into part one, the challenge. Everyone in the industry is talking about the potential of Agentic AI, but very few are actually running it at scale. Let's look at the three specific roadblocks keeping these agents out of production. But before we are doing that, please take a moment to think about this question on the slide. How many of you have built an amazing agent in a sandbox, but are still fighting to get that into production? If this question applies to you, you are not alone. Today, we're going to talk about exactly why that happens in FSI and how to break out of it. Let's look at the three major roadblocks keeping AI agents stuck in sandbox. The first one, the context bottleneck. An agent's reasoning is only as good as the data it has access to. So in the financial services sector, a single client's footprint is typically fragmented across legacy systems, modern CRMs, and disparate databases and file systems. If an agent can instantly pull a unified golden record, it will fail. Productionizing agents is sometimes actually a massive data integration problem disguised as an AI problem. Second, behavioral risk. With Gen AI, our main concern was output risk, like a hallucinated answer. But agents are actually autonomous. The risk shifts from what the AI says to the action it takes. Imagine an agent executing a sequence of non-compliant actions. We simply cannot have a black box acting on behalf of a financial institution. We must establish bounded autonomy, meaning strict operational guardrails, human in the loop, and an audit trail for every single action. Finally, the scaling chasm. Traditional software development is built for certainty. Input A always guarantees output B. But agents are non-deterministic. They plan, they reason, they adapt on the fly. When you try to force a dynamic reasoning AI into a rigid legacy engineering pipeline, your testing process breaks down. You simply cannot achieve enterprise scale using tools built for the past. There is a fundamental mismatch between this dynamic technology and our traditional life cycle. Let's look at how we solve this in the next section.
All right. Michael has just discussed and described about some of the core challenges, including the scaling chasm. So the gap where amazing prototypes hit a roadblock because traditional engineering isn't built for some of the AI's reasoning capabilities. So to solve this, let's understand the Google Cloud Consulting Agentic Transformation Framework. It is a bridge over that chasm. It's designed to handle the unknowns of agentic behavior while maintaining the enterprise-grade control. At the very center of this framework is strategy, ecosystems, and value. Everything has to start right here. We aren't building agents just because the technology is available or it is exciting. We need to define our intent, understand our business goals, and map it directly to the value framework. If an agent does not solve a core business challenge, and if we don't have a measurable return on investment, like efficiency, cost savings, revenues, or any of those things, we don't want to build such an agent. From the strategic core, we move into our first phase, which is reimagine business process. This is where we stop looking at the as-is process, start understanding what if future scenarios. Here, we completely redesign the workflows to figure out exactly how the humans and AI agents collaborate. The goal here is to elevate the human experience and expertise, while agents handle the complex and repetitive work. Next, we move into an inception phase. This is centered around the agentic use case design and prototyping. At this stage, we turn our reimagine process into tangible blueprints. We take a broad domain challenges and translate them into specific and prioritized use cases. In this phase, we build rapid prototypes to validate our assumptions. It might be a bit difficult to understand and visualize all those things. So let's look at how this works in practice. So let's double click into how the reimagine and inception workflow actually looks like. So before we move on, just pause the video for a bit. Take the look at these categories and think about where an AI agent can fit perfectly versus where a human touch is still essential. If you have guessed it, most of the things right, congratulations. Let's start looking at these things in detail. So from a strategy and ideation standpoint, human experts lead the way by defining the overarching goals and value frameworks. AI agents act as ultimate research assistants. They conduct the market analysis, generate creative ideas, develop concrete value models, and so on. Next, we move into the use case design. This is the place where the vision gets a structure. We map the critical user journeys and refine what the agent needs to do. And the agent develops some artifacts, and all these artifacts are validated by human experts. The goal is that the human experts check for enterprise grade standards, security requirements, and all those things. And the human in the loop design prevents the black box automation risk that Michael was mentioning earlier. Finally, we hit the rapid prototyping phase. So the AI agents generate detailed user stories, acceptance criteria, technical design documents, and so on. So once again, human verifies that. So by the time we commit to the backlog, we have a fully aligned plan and an architecture for the next phase. The key differentiator in this whole process is we want to do things with velocity but without the risk. So effectively bypassing the bottlenecks of traditional software development lifecycle. By using the AI agents to generate the document research, and it allows our engineers and architects to spend 100% of their time in creative and critical validation. That also ensures the solution solves the business problem accurately. So once we complete the use case design and the prototyping phase, we reach a point of alignment. We enter the construction phase. So this phase is purely agent building phase. By working in rapid cycles, we can incorporate new data, build out new sophisticated collaboration patterns between the agents. This is how we break down the context bottleneck that Michael has mentioned earlier, ensuring that the agent has a unified view rather than just hitting a legacy data wall. So once again, let's take a deeper look at the construction workflow. Pause the video for a bit, look at the categories and think about where an AI agent can solve and where a human touch is still essential. So in the development stage, we use AI agents as force multipliers, like for our engineers. So it will help in the AI agent will understand the PRDs, analyze the existing code base, and it understands the context. From there, the agents do the heavy lifting, like code generation, refactoring legacy segments, even building the unit test cases. In the build and integrate phase, the focus shifts towards the system-driven validation. If an error occurs, AI agent just does not alert us. It assists in debugging and even going and auto-fixing some of the things to help move the pipeline. Lastly, in deliver and deploy, we just don't push the things to production. We use the system to generate a comprehensive release notes and create the adoption plans and with clear KPIs and so on. But finishing all of that is not, it's not done at that phase. Like we haven't finished the complete phase. We just finished the development and we enter the operational phase. This is where we rely on the quality and the alignment pillar. To maintain trust and safety, we need to continuously audit the agent for quality. We need to perform automated evaluations, monitor any new emergent behaviors. This way, we can ensure that any new behaviors can be accounted for and we can avoid any regulatory and compliance issues. So here we are taking a deeper look at the operation workflow, which also ensures the agents are reliable and cost effective. From observe and respond phase, we use telemetry for instant auto scaling and self healing scenarios. We use optimize, which leverages using the billing APIs and all those things. We can right size the resources, cut the cost. Finally, AI models can drift. So in quality and alignment, human supervisors set strict evaluation criteria. We constantly evaluate agents against the criteria and make sure that the quality is built-in standard rather than an afterthought. So the observe and respond stage combined with the human defined evaluation criteria, that is what helps us put those strict boundaries and audit trails that are needed for mitigating any of the regulatory exposure. All of that is good, but we can't build and scale an enterprise grade agentic workforce without some of the foundational pillars. And these are the foundational pillars that you're seeing on the right side. It's easy to get distracted by the cool agent behavior, but these bedrock elements are what actually moves your product from sandbox into production. We need robust architecture and data patterns to ground our agents and prevent any hallucinations. Earlier in the presentation, we spoke about data silo problem. The data in the data platforms pillar is essential to solve the silo problem. We need strict security and governance to ensure that there are no compliance issues. These are non-negotiable elements. These will help build the agents which are operationally safe and are also legally bound. And finally, platform and agent ops. They perform the core essential plumbing and help in running everything at scale. So by using this four-stage cycle grounded in these pillars, we aren't just building a bot. We are building a scalable, a resilient system that can survive and transition over time from sandbox to the real world. Now, I want to hand it over to Michael, and we will speak about some of the agentic use cases in financial services domain.
All right, thank you, Abhilash. Now we've established the how, let's pivot to the what. A technical framework only matters if it delivers business value. We're going to look at the specific agentic use cases driving measurable value across banking, capital markets, and insurance. Here is the agentic landscape for the banking sector. We analyze these opportunities through three distinct lenses: user journeys, functional areas, and implementation horizons. First, for the user journey, we are ensuring we're actually solving for the customer needs at every stage. Using banking as an example, first stage is customer acquisition. This is all about attracting and converting new clients. To accelerate this, we can have a personalized marketing agents, create targeted, fully compliant campaigns to convert new clients faster. And the second stage is customer servicing. Here, the goal is to provide a seamless, personalized experience for every customer. Imagine if we can have an omni-channel customer service agent to accelerate resolution times by handling FAQs instantly and also assisting human representatives with complex queries. The last stage, growth and retention. For this stage, it's focusing on deepening client relationships and ensuring long-term loyalty. For example, we can have a financial and wealth advisory assistant, which is a front office transformation that supports personalized financial advice. It synthesizes complex regulations, identifies exposures to overnight market events, and suggests the next best action for your financial services advisors, wealth advisors, to proactively drive revenue and client satisfaction. Second, look at the use cases from a functional area, showing how agents structurally transform the enterprise. For the front office, this is about shifting from reactive service to proactive engagement to drive top-line growth. For middle office, this is about leveraging agents for risk and analytics. For example, know your customer anti-money laundering agent can simultaneously verify onboarding data and monitor for suspicious patterns. For back office, this is about automating high volume manual processes to maximize throughput and accuracy. For example, pricing exception agent to automate the high friction price matching request in loan process. The third lens, the implementation horizon. This is categorized by the readiness. We could have quick win use cases. These are about high readiness use cases that build immediate momentum and disruption. These are agents that fundamentally scale operations and protect the business. And last but not least, there could be transformational use cases. These are North Star opportunities that completely reimagine core business models. Now moving on to capital markets. The framework remains the same, but the user journey here fundamentally shifts to the life cycle of a trade or a deal. In research and origination, speed is everything. We could have agents like PitchBook generation agent that instantly synthesize market and company data, helping your front office get materials to the clients first. In execution and relationship management, we could have an always-on event-driven engine continuously monitors global shifts, allowing bankers, either buy-side or sell-side professionals, to proactively advise clients the second market conditions change. And in post-trade operations, we could have agents that handle the heavy burden of compliance monitoring to track regulatory changes and synthesize internal compliance documents to provide proactive alerts immediately. Finally, for insurance, the user journey revolves around balancing accurate risk assessment with a seamless, highly responsive customer experience. Starting with product and distribution, we could have an insurance proposal agent that helps brokers rapidly tailor complex multi-line commercial policies, directly increasing your quote volume. Moving on to underwriting and claims, we see the heart of risk transformation. In the front office, there could be a first notice of loss assistant that handles that critical first interaction. And meanwhile, in the middle office, there could be an underwriting co-pilot that synthesizes vast amounts of applicant data against your guidelines. Instead of making the final pricing call, the agent could flag potential risks, build comprehensive risk profile, and audit documents. Finally, in customer service and retention, a midterm adjustment assistant can automate high-friction midterm adjustments like an address change. It parses natural language requests, calculates pro rata premiums, and drafts endorsements for approval, instantly removing a massive operational bottleneck. As conclusion, if you want measurable P&L impact, these are actually our top 3 pathways recommended use cases across FSI. Number 1, claims processing agent. This is a recommended use case for insurance sector. This agent is to accelerate claims processing by analyzing various claims-related multi-modal documents, detecting fraud, waste, and abuse, and assessing validity against policy coverage. It minimizes loss adjustment expenses and drastically improves your claims cycle time. It is a direct, measurable hit to your bottom line. For capital market, we recommend Equity Research Assistant. This is about multiplying analyst productivity to instantly expand your ticker coverage and accelerate time to publish. Last but not least, for credit lending agent, this is a recommended use case for banking sector. This is a back office disruptor that cross-references data across loan documents, internal systems, and external sources to identify inconsistencies and synthesize applicant data, expediting underwriter decisions. This agent is to transform a core revenue-generating process by drastically increasing loan throughput. Ultimately, these aren't just operational upgrades, they are direct bottom line drivers. Now that you have a better understanding of the potential AI use cases in FSI, as a next step, we're going to show you guys a demo.
Thank you, Michael. We talked about the roadblocks. We walked through the methodology. We spoke about some of the use cases. So let's jump into the demo. The demo showcases how we use an agentic system for enhancing a mortgage lending application. It is built using the Gemini Enterprise workflow agent. So everything that you are about to see follows the 4 same pillars that we discussed in the Agentic Transformation Framework. So what you're seeing on my screen is Gemini Enterprise. What we are doing here is, if you want to build a new agent, all I'm doing is just going into the new agent, proceed to the builder, and this brings up the agent builder interface. And using this, we can start building an agent. So for this particular recording, we have pre-created the agent, and so that we can save some time instead of building everything during the presentation. So let's see how the agent is built using the builder. While we are speaking about the framework, we spoke about several sub-agents, which are specialized sub-agents. For this demo, we are trying to keep that simple and only have 4 sub-agents. So at the very top, you are able to see a root agent, which has 4 sub-agents. The primary goal of the root agent is to act as an AI agent responsible for guiding the users through the agentic AI development lifecycle. So it's basically an orchestrator. So it will orchestrate 4 specialized sub-agents sequentially to take the use case from the initial discovery to a fully architected and a secure agentic system. The root agent also gatekeeps each stage. So only we will be going from one stage to the next stage as and when a human reviews and approves each stage of the process. So let's take a look at how the root agent is created. So I'm going into the root agent. So the root agent has the name and the description, but the instructions are what are interesting in this case. So it has the role, and we are saying that you are a top level AI expert responsible for guiding through that agentic AI development. And from a task standpoint, we are saying that you're not directly solving something, but you're going through this 4-step specialized process. And we are also giving out all of those stages. Stage 1 is the ideation and discovery. Stage 2 is use case design. Architecting is stage 3. And then finally, the governance and the security. These are the 4 things that we were speaking about earlier as well. And finally, from a guardrails or constraint standpoint, we want to make sure that the agent is not solving anything, but rather it's more like orchestrating and gatekeeping the entire process. So we are saying that only if it's approved, then proceed to the next phase, or else take the user feedback and just act on that one. And we also making sure that the context is whatever context is passed, though that's the context that's being used. We don't want to have any hallucinations and all of those things. And finally, from an output standpoint, we want to have everything in a clear and a concise manner, receive the signal from the sub-agent that is particular stage is complete, only then you do that particular thing. So don't repeat the one agent if it's already been done and things like that. So that is what we have for the root agent. Now, let's look at what we have for the sub-agent. This is the very first sub-agent, the ideation and the discovery agent. So in this case, once again, we are saying that from a task standpoint, start with that reimagination, the business process. So we are saying shift the focus from that as is into the what if future state. So for that, we are also saying that like we want to use you can use the Google search in this particular context is what we are saying to the agent to understand the business process and things like that. Because the agent has to become a domain expert in this case. Finally, from a guardrails and constraint standpoint, we are saying that make sure that it is clear on what the task it needs to automate, like make that clear distinction between the human task and the automated AI task. Do not invent something which is not there in the business context. So ask questions if there has to be anything that is clarified. So from an output standpoint, this is the interesting part. We want to define and show things very clearly. That way, that the information that's being generated is can be readily used by the users. So we want to show the as is process for that given use case. Then we want to show the to be agentic design process, which is the reimagined workflow, where we will come up with what will be the future agentic process. Then we'll also have the human agent collaboration model, where we'll can say like how this humans and AI agents interact. And finally, conceptual integration blueprint, and then the persona impact, like how will this agent help someone in a particular role, and all of those information. And you'll see all of this in action. I'm invoking this agent, saying hello, and this agent comes up and says, hey, these are the 4 stages. This is what I will be able to help you, and all of those information. Then I'm saying, hey, this is my use case. This is a mortgage lending agent for a large US bank. We want to cross-reference the data across the loan documents, across internal and external systems. And you want to expedite the whole process of decision making and all of those things. So that is what is the use case scenario that we are passing to the agent. So the agent now is evaluating all of that. It's coming up with an as is process. In the as is, it says, hey, this is the current state that I'm understanding, and these are the friction points, these are the core challenges that this particular scenario might have. And we are saying that the agent is saying that, okay, the 2P process should be like build up and take an application and ingest that data, cross-reference that data, detect any inconsistencies, and synthesize the application, and then expedite the decision making. At each of those stages, it's clearly defining, okay, agent has to do these tasks and human oversight will do these tasks. And it's also explaining the human and the agent collaboration model. And then it's coming up with a high level blueprint of how this whole flow will look like. And then finally, the impact analysis. Remember, we spoke about certain personas. So for a loan officer, how will that impact be? For an underwriter, how will that impact be? And so on and so forth. So all of that is looking good. But now let's see that, like in this process, nowhere it was mentioned about what will happen if some of the documents are missing or something like that. So let's ask the agent that question. So we are asking, in the document ingestion process, did you like consider the channels, like for example, emails and all of those things? Like the agent clearly thought that the documents will be getting in some way or the other, but we want to have multiple ingestion patterns. So we want to think about those. So when we ask that question, consider multiple channels, now the agent will clearly go and add the additional channels. So if you see this one compared to the previous one, now it's an omni-channel intake and the ingestion process. It's taking the data from inboxes, secure portals, document upload APIs, and so on. Accordingly, it will also update the human oversight and all of those things. But if you notice, all the rest of the things will remain the same. And so all of this is previously whatever was there, it's the same thing. But in the blueprint, you will see also the email inboxes and so on. Okay, now we can proceed to, all this is looking good. We'll ask the agent to proceed to the next stage. So proceed to the next stage, and the agent now builds the second phase of it, which is the use case design. So let me go through the how we did the use case design. So in the use case design, what we are trying to do is identify the agentic AI use cases and their designs and come up with the rapid prototyping in this phase. So basically, we want a user-centric golden path design. And the guardrails that we are setting here is every agent task should map to the core agentic capabilities like plan, synthesize, evaluate, and act, and also clearly define the tasks that are fully autonomous versus the tasks that have a human in the loop. And then we are saying that once again, put everything in a markdown format, list out the core critical user journeys, the agent tasks versus and the user stories. And then finally, what are all the tools that are required in order to build this particular design of the use case. So that is what we have in the inputs. So let's go and see what the agent is trying to build. So it's saying that critical user journey definition. It's giving the primary goal, the workflow process, what will trigger, how will the automation process will work, how the data is extracted, evaluation and flagging, and all those things. Okay, all of that is looking good. And the loan officer is basically from the user journey standpoint, it's writing the user stories. As a loan officer, this is what I want to do, and this is how the agent will help, and this is what the human in the loop will work. Then we have the similar stories for underwriter, loan officer, and so on. And finally, from a tool standpoint, the agent is clearly calling out, hey, these are the core data sources that we need, like internal systems, ingestion channels, external APIs, and so on. And the agentic capabilities tool standpoint, like the Doc AI, reasoning engine, retrieval, augmented generation, the RAG systems, and the API orchestration layer. So all of those things from a tool standpoint. Okay, so that is the stage two of it. But think about it. How, if we want to make a change, we can still interact. We can go multiple iterations with the agent. Hey, this is what I want to add, and so on and so forth. So in this case, we are asking, what if some of the documents are missing? How should I handle the exception path and notify the loan officer and request additional documents and information? So that is what we wanted to ask the agent. And now the agent is going back, rethinking, and it's coming back and saying that, okay, given that you need to have a process for the documents, so now what it's saying is, remember the use cases that were mentioned before, the user stories. Now it has come up with this new use case, the second one, saying that in case of missing documents and if anything is missing is detected, this is how it's going to handle. And it has a human in the loop process and all of those things. But once again, the rest of all the details will remain the same, and that is how it's going to process. Now, I will ask Michael to speak about the architecting and the governance phases.
All right. Thank you, Avlash. Before we move on to the stage 3, right? So far in our agentic transformation journey, we've covered stage 1 and stage 2, where we took our mortgage lending use case from a manual, high-friction process to a reimagined, user-centric golden path and extraction path here, right? Now it's time to actually build it. So in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you how this agent is leveraging the modularized framework to help us expedite agent architecting, and also make sure the system is secure and production grade, right? So we will start by looking at how we instruct the agent behind the scenes, and then we will also see that in action. First, let's look under the hood at the system prompt driving stage 3. Here, we are configuring the architecting agent to act as an expert cloud and AI system architect. Its role is to take our approved use case from stage 2 and translate it into a scalable enterprise-grade architecture. Now, notice how we don't just ask it for general ideas. We strictly mandate the format, demanding a technical design document that covers 5 specific areas. First, the agentic system design, forcing it to decide the best multi-agentic pattern for the specific mortgage credit lending use case, and at the same time provide a justification. Second, roles and interaction. We want the agent to map out the exact tools, data flows, and responsibilities for each of the agent in the structured table format. Third, for memory and context management, we want agent to come up strategies to handle agent short-term and long-term memory. Fourth, service options and sourcing. We want the agent to also define the core technical components and runtime requirement. Last but not least, we also want the agent to provide a functional architecture sketch to visually wire everything all together, right? So in this way, we're forcing the AI to think like a true enterprise architect. Now, let's switch over to the right side of the screen. within Gemini Enterprise to see how the agent actually works, right? So after we prompt proceed to stage 3, you can see that the agent worked through our requirement. Under agentic system design, it recognized that this workflow needs a hierarchical multi-agentic system pattern along with a pattern justification here, right? And then under roles and interactions for the orchestrating agent, which is the mortgage orchestrator, right? And each of the sub-agent, it specifies the agent role, the descriptions and responsibilities for each of the sub-agent, and what the data integration flow looks like, and also even the specific tools that each of the sub-agent would need to complete that specific task at each stage. And then if we're moving on, for memory and context management, we can see that the agent has also defined the agent short-term and long-term memory requirement, as well as laid out an enterprise-grade tech stack for each of the core technical component and runtime, right? For example, it mentioned for foundation model, we would recommend Gemini 3 Pro, and for agent runtime, the agent is suggesting we should leverage Vertex AI Agent Engine, things like that. And for document processing, we should leverage Google Cloud Doc AI, right? For layout parsing and for accurate OCR. So just like in a minute, the agent is able to give you a technical blueprint like that. But what I really want to highlight is this logical architecture sketch, right? So let's copy paste this and put that in the Mermaid visualizer and see what the agent has provided us, right? If you see on the screen here, the agent is also be able to turn the entire output into this visual format for us to visualize what the entire agentic system or agentic workflow would look like, step by step, how it interacts with different systems, where we are persisting the data, and everything to stitch everything together. All right, so let's go back to the Gemini Enterprise. Yeah, so just like that, we went from a conceptual workflow to a deployable enterprise blueprint in seconds. One thing to emphasize is that the agent's goal here is actually not to produce a perfect blueprint on the first attempt, but rather to instantly provide us with an initial draft of the agent architecture or blueprint we need to significantly expedite the development process. Let's continue. But a brilliant architecture is useless if it isn't secure, right? So that brings us to stage 4 here. So on the left side, let's take a look at the governance and security agent. We instruct it to act as an expert in AI risk management and secure AI frameworks. We tell it to embed security as a default posture. Notice the guardrails in the prompt. We require it to apply zero trust patterns, and it should consider use case specific risk along with mitigation plans. And at the same time, consider the agent governance and agent ops to make the agentic system production grade. So now, again, let's put your attention on the right side of the screen. Let's look at the final output in the chat, right? After we ask the agent, give them permission to proceed to stage 4, the agent immediately applies these constraints directly to our mortgage use case. It identifies highly specific risks. For example, the first one, right? The threat of an applicant embedding a hidden prompt injection inside an uploaded PDF to manipulate the system. But that's not the only thing that agent tells you, just stop at the risk, but also it tells you a mitigation plan, right? For example, to utilize strict prompt templating to avoid this specific risk, right? And move on to the next section for data and tool governance. It enforces zero trust agent to tool and communication and strict list privilege access. What that means is basically the agents can only have access to exactly what they need, right? For example, the ingestion agent can only read emails but cannot approve loans, right? And also, second, the data loss prevention. It mandates masking PII data like social security numbers before the data even reaches the large language model's reasoning engine, right? And finally, it provides suggestions on logging and tracing, as well as measurable agent ops metrics, like tracking the business metrics of false anomaly flag rate, as well as some technical metrics related to tool call and grounding accuracy, so we can monitor the system's health in production. As a conclusion, for today's solution talk, as part of the demo, right? In just a few minutes, you can see that how our agentic transformation agent has seamlessly transitioned us from business design to a fully architected enterprise-grade multi-agentic system that is secure, compliant, and ready to be built on Google Cloud. The modularized agentic transformation framework we introduced earlier and Google's secure AI framework are driving all of these behind the scenes to ensure we can develop production-grade agentic system for a regulated industry like FSI.
So thank you for your time, and feel free to post any of your comments in the comment section, and Michael and I will be watching out and will be able to answer any of your questions. But once again,